Welcome to Let's Talk Sports. I'm Ron Sen.
And I'm Ralph LaBella.
And we have a lot of excitement to talk about this week with the Celtics going for Banner 18 back to the NBA Finals for the first time since 2008. It was a hard-fought series against Miami being one of the tougher physically and mentally resilient teams in the league with a great coach in Erik Spoelstra.
Yeah, he had a great defense against the Celtics, especially against Tatum and Brown. What they did is actually they played a man-to-man zone when they got the ball. And the thing that I liked about it, which I teach my girls not to do, is what you saw is someone's on Tatum, and on both wings the players cheated in enough where they can recover, but they didn't cheat in enough to stop penetration. What they did is they reached every time they went in, and they'd knock the ball away.
Yeah, it was almost like pack line defense where you're trying to, they call it cover 1.5. You got to cover your own player plus another half a player.
But you know what they do, though? Most of the time you teach to make sure you're in there and you deny the penetration. They didn't teach that. What they taught is you reach and steal the ball. You get that close to them, they're going to try to split both of you, and you got to steal the ball. And that's what happened with Brown 5 times in a row in the fourth quarter, and then another game in the first quarter, and it happened to Tatum a number of times.
Well, Spoelstra's a great coach. People forget that sometimes that he was the LeBron James coach while he was with the Heat, but he also is known for one other statistic while he was at event while he was at Portland State. He was on the floor when Hank Gathers died.
Yeah.
So, but Spoelstra's teaching is he wants his team to be the most professional, the most physically and mentally tough, the nastiest team out there. And they did a good job considering when they're undersized. They have Butler, who's a superstar and has an amazing degree of toughness, and then they have the little guard rat. Lowry, who he knows all the tricks. If you get near him, he'll pin your arm underneath his arm to draw a foul, or he's really crafty. You're never going to get away with that unless you have his stature in the league. But very crafty player. And in Game 7, the Celtics they got off to a quick start, which was so important because it's tough to play from behind.
Yeah, and the thing that I look at is Udoka's a very good defensive coach. All right? He likes to switch on all the picks away from the basket, which I'm not 100%. I don't 100% agree with that, but look what they are. So but the thing I don't like is I don't think he's a good offensive coach.
Well, down the stretch, they tend to get focused on isolation, although if Marcus Smart could make any open three-pointer down the line, it wouldn't have been close.
Well, the thing is, there are some days you watch Smart and you say he's got the feel, he's got the touch. Since he came back from the ankle injury, he hasn't had it. He's struggled from the three-point line. But the thing that really aggravated me, and in the whole game I'm yelling it out, Tatum, take Lowry down low. Or set a pick where he can take Lowry, off the baseline, down low. One time they ran it the whole game in the fourth quarter, or early in the fourth, and Tatum missed a layup, and then he fell to the ground. It's funny when, I don't know if people noticed that, he falls to the ground, right, after he missed a layup. They come down and they get 2 points, 5-on-4. Next time down...
Grant Williams, same thing.
No, next time down, Tatum went in for the rebound, got the rebound, and missed the layup again.
Okay.
And landed on the floor again. Miami comes down and hits a three-point shot. So when you really think about it, that was a 9-point swing in the fourth quarter. Tatum misses 2 easy layups, laying on the floor. Miami pushes the ball up, gets a 2-pointer, then a 3-pointer. Instead of then getting 4 points and playing tough D on Miami, they missed both layups, Tatum, and Miami pushes on a 5-on-4 because Tatum, of course, is laying on the ground, and they get a 2-point shot and a 3-point shot.
And I think that your guy, Peyton Pritchard, didn't get many minutes because what happened is immediately they'd switch off to get Butler on Pritchard, and it's just such a physical mismatch.
But how many points did Butler get on Pritchard? He scored one jump shot and he missed the shot. So because he scores 2 points, Pritchard comes out of the game. And I've been telling you this for a while, there's no way Pritchard's going to re-sign with the Celtics. There's no way. If that's the philosophy of Udoka, hey, they're in the finals. But I'm just talking about Pritchard right now. He's not giving him a chance. And if he doesn't put him in the cover Poole in this series, I mean, it's a bad decision because you got Poole, and especially if you have Poole and you have Curry in there together, he can cover. He's probably one of the best players on that team, man-to-man, to stay on the ball. But
well, obviously you're going to have Smart on Curry. You're going to have Brown on
but it
Klay
doesn't
Thompson.
matter. But again, they switch on everything, so
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Well, and then the Celtics they're a lot bigger than Golden State, just like they're a lot bigger than Miami. You know, if Curry is crazy and hits 40% on threes during the series, they won't have a chance. But
no, and then you got Poole, you got Thompson, you know, from the 3-point line. You got Wiggins.
No, I mean the Golden State deserves to be favored, and 15 out of 20 ESPN experts pick Golden State.
But how about if they're not hitting their shots? The Celtics will dominate them big time.
You know, and the other thing is Marcus Smart being Marcus Smart. You know, he's not going to try to intentionally hurt Curry, but he's going to hit Curry every time he possibly can.
No, I picked the Celtics. I think the Celtics are going to beat him because down low, I mean, they got Looney who's playing good now, but if they were going to count on Green down low playing defense, if they could just count on that, the Celtics are going to dominate him down low. Because the Celtics, if Williams is healthy, they're still going to go with the two bigs.
Well, I guess we have to see what Golden State does. The word is that Gary Payton Jr., who's a very good defensive player, is coming back. Will he cover Tatum? Can he cover Tatum? I don't know.
No one can cover Tatum one-on-one. You know, I mean, I would love to see that. I'd love to see them think that Wiggins can cover him one-on-one because he can't. No one can cover Tatum one-on-one. I haven't seen it all year. Even when they put the Greek on him, Giannis on him.
Well, there's certain things you don't want to see. For example, we're hearing that Rob Williams is going to miss the first game. So presumably that means Tice is going to be out there, hopefully not shooting threes. I do not want to watch Tice shoot threes.
Well, the thing there too is I heard that Williams said he's feeling a lot better now, and he hopes to play. He says, you know, his knee's feeling well. Today, that's what he stated. But, you know, I don't mind seeing Tice in the game. I don't mind seeing him.
I don't mind seeing him in the game as long as he's not shooting threes.
No, I think he's underrated because sometimes he plays really good. He can block a shot. You know, I don't want to see him take a bunch of threes, but if he's wide open on a three from the corner, I don't mind seeing him take that.
It's like Derek White. He did start to hit threes at the end of the series, but that's not ordinarily his shot.
You know, but he did have a good, the last two games he played. And the sixth game he played, he was the best player on the floor for them.
Well, the good thing about the series early is they had the 3 days off before the game starting tomorrow, which is the second. And then they play every 3 days for the first couple.
Yeah.
And then it goes to every 2
Yeah.
for a couple games. But the longer rest should help the Celtics, who've got a lot of injury problems. I mean, this time of year, I'm sure every player has aches and pains that are not going to be better till the off season.
What did you think of Smart at the end when he missed those 4 shots? He didn't take the last 5 shots like everybody's saying.
They're wide open shots. It's during the rest of the game you watch him and you say like, oh, why is he taking those shots? Well, because he made a bunch of them. He had 24 points.
Well, in the fourth, he only had 3. He was 3 for what? 3 for 9 or something.
Yeah.
But the shot I didn't like was early in the fourth quarter when he shot the ball from the left wing and he was out there and he just got it and heaved it up. But that third one he missed. He was wide open off a pass. He stepped into it. He just missed it. I mean, in that case, like people saying he should have drove to the basket, he did that at the end of the game and he got stopped and they almost lost because of it.
Yeah, if you have a guy you're relying on him to be able to make those, they got to take him. It's like everybody's saying Butler shouldn't have taken a 3. Well, he's the best player on a team that's in the conference finals. You have to give him the freedom to make that decision. If it goes in, everybody says, "Whoa, what a great decision, Jimmy Butler." The problem with the game before is they weren't covering. Smart's 4 feet off of him, letting him shoot it. I
don't know what they were thinking. And then what I thought he was going to do, Udoka, and he didn't do it. And they still held him to 96 points. It was 96 and 98. Yeah. But I thought he would have Smart go below the pick because he's not a great three-point shooter. And every pick he was getting was at the three-point line. And he'd come off it, and then White or someone would pick it up. One time no one picked him up, and he drove right to the basket and scored 2. But what I thought they were going to do was have Smart go below the pick, let White open up the space, go below the pick him up when he came off the pick. He's still at the three-point line. He's not a good three-point shooter, and you're still on him after the pick. They never did that. And another thing I thought they'd do would go into a zone once in a while to stop the penetration.
Well, they played a lot of drop coverage against Miami. That means on the pick and roll, the screener's defender, which was Horford a lot, plays in the lane and just basically lets them take the three. They cannot do that.
They've been doing that forever. They never attack the pick.
Yeah, but they can't do that against Curry and Thompson.
Oh, you're not going to do that against them. You're not going to attack. You're not going to blitz the pick there. I mean, when you do the blitz, if you blitz the pick perfectly, the offensive player drives them away from the. If they're at the three-point line, it drives them away from the three-point line until he can recover and make the pass. But they never blitzed the pick. They haven't done that for years. Even before Udoka came, they never blitzed the pick when Stevens was the coach. And that used to drive me crazy because they'd have to give the ball up then because they're being trapped. But the thing against Golden State is, what's to say when they're so tall, the Celtics, that they have a tough time shooting? If the Golden State has a tough time shooting, the Celtics are going to beat them. If they shoot 35% from the three-point line, the Celtics will beat them.
Who's, in your mind, who's the key player that has to? I mean, obviously we expect the stars to be the stars. Of the big three from each team, which player do you think will be critical for determining the final outcome?
Who's the big three for the Celtics? You putting Robert Williams there, or you putting Horford?
No, I'm putting Smart there.
You're putting Smart there? Well, then Horford.
Yeah.
If you were putting Horford there, I would say Smart's going to be the key. He's going to be the key because he can't hit the three. I just think because of his ankle injury, I mean, he had to take those 3 shots.
Yeah, he's wide open.
He's wide open off the pass. Normally, he buries them. His average is better normally when he steps into a 3 rather than taking that back step 3 where he leans on his back right foot. But I think that Horford and Grant Williams, if they can score, hit those open shots. I mean, Golden State is so quick on defense, but you can beat them down low. So if you got Looney in there and you don't have Green in there, if Looney's in there, who's Looney going to be covering? If he covers Horford, you got Williams for the alley-oop. So even Grant Williams. If you don't have Looney, if you don't have both of them in there, Looney and Green, then Grant Williams could have a big game.
Yeah, this is Golden State's 6th appearance in the finals in the last 8 years.
To answer your question, it's Horford.
Yeah, and I would say for Golden State, the guy that people may underestimate is Wiggins. I
don't think anybody else underestimates him after the last series.
Well, he's
Who would you?
Underrated.
All right, Green's starting, Looney's not starting.
Okay. Yep.
Give me your matchups. Who would you? If you're the Celtics coach, who would you have? What players would you have covering the Golden State players?
Well, I'm going to presume during the key moments they're going to have the death lineup in there with Thompson, Poole, and Curry. So under those circumstances. Yeah, but...
You say Wiggins is in there with Green.
Okay, so I put Horford on Green. I put Tatum on Wiggins. Smart's on Curry. Derek White is on Thompson. Who's left?
Brown.
So Brown's got... Brown can play Poole or Thompson, either one.
Yeah.
So they match up
match up really well.
Yeah, because People underestimate how big Tatum and Brown are. So most wings have trouble with their size.
And even White's big. I mean, White can thank God that he's 5 inches taller than Pritchard.
Well, they were saying, I think it was probably sarcasm. Ettore Messina, who's one of the top coaches in Europe and was a Spurs assistant for years, said, well, if Steph Curry were in Europe, he'd just be another 6-foot-tall guard and wouldn't be able to play with the physicality. And I think I think he was just kidding.
Well, people don't understand about Curry is they say he's a great shooter. He's a better ball handler. Yeah, he's a better passer.
Curry can do it all.
I mean, he's a great point guard, so he's going to get the ball to the people, but the Celtics are going to give them trouble. I mean, when he goes into the lane, they converge on him. He's going to have to make those passes.
Yeah, what has been the case is in the years when Golden State had Durant, they rolled over everybody, home and away. They don't have Durant. They've got a lot of good players, but you're not going to tell me that that Poole or Wiggins is Durant.
But who's the key? Looking at both teams, the matchups, who do you think's the key? Who has to play really good for Golden State for them to win?
Klay Thompson, I think, has to.
Well, you know that Thompson, Poole, Wiggins, and Curry are going to play good. You know they're going to play pretty good.
Green has to be himself.
I think the key to the whole series is Looney. I think Looney. If Looney plays like he did in the last series against Dallas, they're going to be really tough. I mean, the rebounding, he was strong down low. Normally he hasn't played that well, but against Dallas he was really good. Is Dallas soft compared to the Celtics? So if the Celtics keep Looney under control, dominating the boards,
I think they can handle him.
They're going to win.
I think they can handle him.
Well, I hope so, because he had a great series against Dallas.
And then if you look at the coaches, Kerr's got the experience matchup edge, but
I think he's a dink. Kerr. What did they do when Thompson was hurt? What did they do? Thompson was hurt. They ended up in last place, I think. Well, he gets all the praise.
I think sometimes teams go in the tank just trying to get a better choice, that kind of thing.
It's the same thing. It's the players. It's not the coach. It's the coach to bring him so far. Like with Udoka. I mean, they're in the finals, but look where they were with Stevens.
Yeah.
They went to the finals of the East, 3 times?
Well, hopefully the ball won't stick at the end like it really didn't stick again at the end against Miami. They got wide open shots, they didn't make them.
But the problem is with the Celtics is they're not, whoever the offensive coach is, they're not very good, because there are other ways you can get the ball to Tatum and Brown. You don't have to put the ball up in the point. How consistently could you be? What does Udoka think about putting against Miami, Brown and Tatum getting the ball 25 feet from the basket, knowing that the exact same thing is going to happen every time? If they're going to play you tough, if you try to drive, they're going to converge on you. They're going to let you get into that little split, and they're going to knock the ball away.
Yeah, we always tell kids what your parents tell you when you're little: don't play in traffic. You have to win in space. You play in traffic, you end up turning the ball over or getting the ball deflected.
But, Ron, this is a perfect example. You just talked earlier about Tatum getting that inbounds pass on Butler, one-on-one on what he did. So why didn't this – now that's the perfect example. Why do they isolate him up top, knowing it's going to happen every time when they try to drive, and they play him not to shoot the three-pointer like Lowry was playing him tough? And if you try to get by him, there's another guy over there ready to poke the ball away. Why don't they come off picks? Now they're individual. Now if they come off a pick, they're one-on-one.
Well, part of the problem is if you notice the first quarter of Game 7, they were scoring with 10 to 12 seconds left on the clock. They were getting shots off. If you look at the games they struggle, they're getting into the offense at 10 to 12 seconds left to the shot, and then you're not going to get the other team knows what your options are. It's hard to drive when the clock's running down.
All right, so what's your prediction?
I like Golden State in 7. I don't like them. I'm worried that's what will happen.
And I don't want it to go 7, so I'm taking the Celtics in 6. They'll be up 3-2 at home, and they'll win it in 6, because if they don't win it in 6, they're not going to win it in 7. It's not going to happen again like it happened in Miami. So they're going to...
In Milwaukee.
Yeah. But, hey, I think they have a good shot of doing it. I think they have a good shot of taking the first game. I think they're going the first game very high.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. Even the greatest players, such as Diana Taurasi, have a moment when they lose it. And the other night, she was driving to the basket, and I think she expected contact, and the player backed off, and she took a wild shot that missed, and then argued with the ref and got 2 technicals and kicked out of the game. I think it was one of those unfortunate moments where just what you expect to happen as a player doesn't always happen. Sort of like when a wide receiver thinks they're going to get crushed and nobody's there and they just drop the ball.
But did you see the whole? There was no contact at all. You saw the play.
I didn't see any contact whatsoever.
Because if she was knocked off balance, you would think that either the person got up on her and then released quickly, so she.
It was like pulling a chair.
Yeah.
You know. So, but anyway, these things happen. What I'm more bothered by Cam Neely trying to lay all the blame for the Bruins' problems on Cassidy. Apparently, Neely, he doesn't like the fact that they're having trouble getting the puck into the zone sometimes, so he wants to go back to the, I'll call it dump and chase, where you shoot the puck into the corner and then send players in. Well, they do not have so many tough players or tough skilled players like he was back in the day. I mean, you have guys like Frederick on the third and fourth line. They'll get the puck, but they can't do anything with it because they're not skilled players. And they're also blaming Cassidy for not developing enough of these players. Well, the draft with Studnicka and all these guys who never became anything, who owns that? That's all Neely.
And how are you going to develop them anyway? They know the game better than you do.
Well, what happens is they get into the game and they make a mistake. They have trouble getting the puck out of their own end or something. Again, Trent Frederick. And then they make a mistake and then they feel like Cassidy buries them. Well, if the guy can't play, maybe he shouldn't be on the ice. And I've had people say, well, with the salary cap, you don't have any choice. You have to put the guys you have out there.
Well, they must talk after every game, the general manager and Neely and the coaches. They have to talk. Are they doing something where do they want some changes and the coaches are saying no? If that's the case, then you get rid of them.
Well, I think you have an axis of Neely and Sweeney on one side and Cassidy on the other side. So
yeah, Sweeney must be. He's really close to Neely too. But Cassidy, I thought they liked Cassidy.
And I mean, Cassidy's had a terrific record for the season for the team since he's been there.
But their best players aren't physical. That's a problem too.
Right. Well,
they're not physical players.
Well, Bergeron may be retiring. We don't know. He hasn't really said. And then I think Pasternak has potential to renegotiate his contract or get an extension, and they really need to do that. It's much like the Red Sox not negotiating with Devers. Devers is the best player on the team by a factor of 10.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
Well, him and Martinez.
Well, Martinez,
he's having a heck of a year.
But he's kind of like the Yankee players that you don't like who say he never comes through in the clutch. He has a lot of stat fattening.
What happened with the Red Sox, though? They were playing really good. What was it, 6 out of 7, 7 out of 8?
Well, then they had to play the mighty Baltimore Orioles and Cincinnati, the worst team in baseball, and go 2-4 against them.
You know, I've been watching the Celtics so much involved in that I wasn't following the Red Sox. You know, I would check the Yankee score every night, but when the Red Sox started winning, I stopped following them.
I was pretty surprised to see that Jason Tatum got named All-NBA because I thought he'd be second team All-NBA instead of first team. But I guess it may be that some people don't like Luka. I mean, it's the kind of...
Well, Luka made it, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. But some people, it's who you vote for altogether. So it may be that...
And Booker made it too, didn't he?
No,
Booker was in the top 5.
Was Booker in the top 5?
Maybe...
Because you have the Greek Freak, you have Luka, you have
Tatum. You had Booker.
You have Jokic.
And I don't think what's his name made it either. He made the second team.
Well, who's the fifth guy? All right,
Booker made it. Booker was the first team.
Really? Wow. You know, I guess it's probably not based. It doesn't include the playoffs, so Booker wasn't. I mean, he might have been hurt some in the playoffs, too. Anyway, so let's talk about Quinn Snyder leaving the Utah Jazz. He's got 1 year left on his contract, but they're saying that he might sit out and do broadcasting or something. So I don't
he's
know.
One of the best coaches in basketball.
No, but I don't know. Sometimes strange things happen in Utah because they've got a different community out there.
I wonder what Ainge is doing out there. Well, he's involved in the team, right?
Yeah, but I mean, Ainge is a cultural fit for the area, being a Mormon, and some other guys may not be as conservative or whatever and may not fit in well. I don't know what the answer is. Or maybe he's just tired of the players he has.
And they were doing a pie there, percentages of who did the most to make the Celtics, who's responsible. And they had Udoka, they had...
Oh, you got to give Ainge credit for the draft.
I mean, you give them all the credit.
So...
I mean, if I had a pie, I would give him 90% of the credit has to go to Ainge.
He gets negative credit for bad luck with Hayward and Kyrie being Kyrie.
And then he gets negative credit originally for drafting Brown.
Yeah.
He made that... Not only does it bring him the last title, which is tough to get away from L.A. and Miami, you know what I mean, in those areas, you get a title and you have 5 great years. They could have won a couple more. That wasn't his fault.
Well, and I think this year you have the Smart, Brown, and Tatum axis who basically lobbied for Udoka. So if anytime the intensity or conviction or whatever you want to call buy-in falls off, you say, this is your guy. You brought him in. You have to do what he says because it's all going to go on you if you don't put out. So that really worked out very well. Well, let's talk about the Patriots because they've only had 2 open practices so far without pads. So there's probably not a whole lot to say. The biggest issue that I think the fans see is they don't really know what the offensive chain of command is. Who's running the offense?
The thing there, too, is, you have Patricia and you have Judge. And everybody's down on Judge. I mean, both of them were coaches. They both know the game. Patricia knows the game. He's a real good defensive coordinator. Didn't do a good job with Detroit. So McDaniels didn't do a good job when he was a coach, too. He had to come back. And then he didn't do a good job as the offensive coordinator the next season when he was cut. And he comes back and they're praising him. I think a lot of it had to do with Belichick, the system he runs. And
it'll be interesting to see if they simplify the routes for the receivers because of these option routes. Some of these guys are not accustomed to having to read the defensive back at the same time as the quarterback is and then make their decision there. Worked great for Brady and certain receivers that he had, but there were a lot of young receivers who never could get on the same page with him.
Yeah, and I look at the Patriots, and I think there's a good chance that they can have a very good offense this year. They can have a real good running attack. You know that. They have very good backs. They got a number of receivers that are pretty good. They don't have the great receiver. They got a number of receivers who can do the job. Hopefully this second-round draft pick is as good as they think.
If you're the general manager for the Patriots and somebody says, okay, we can get this $20 million receiver, but you got to get rid of 3 other guys to do that, are you going to say, yeah, no? Well, we always won, whenever we won the Super Bowl before we had the $20 million receiver, you're going to say, no, we won with guys that nobody ever heard of.
Well, look what they did with Mason. They get rid of Mason and they get an offensive lineman on its first draft pick. Instead of keeping Mason and drafting that middle linebacker from Georgia, who was there, or the cornerback, instead of getting them, for some reason he gets rid of Mason because he didn't want to give him the money. So I don't know what he's thinking about.
Well, they believe in Mac Wilson, I guess. And it's hard to know. McGrone's never been on the field, so who knows what he can do. And, obviously most of the time, I'm sure Belichick will argue, we're not in base defense. We're in substitution defense 70% of the time. But for Patriots fans, our concern is you can't stop Buffalo one time and get them off the field. So is your offense going to score every time they touch the ball?
That's mostly the coaching, though. His son's got to go, and he won't go. He's still going to keep him. But to not blitz him once, Allen once, didn't blitz. So they're scoring every time. You would think I would throw 8 guys at them. I'd blitz 8 people. You're just going to go and keep 3 back to pick up the receivers. Give them 1 second to get rid of the ball. And when you're blitzing a ton of people, you can't run.
Well, maybe Belichick's thinking Allen will never survive another season because he runs so much, and that the running quarterback hardly ever ends up without serious injuries in the long term.
It's going to come down to their defense, though, because their offense is going to be good with Jones at quarterback. He's got good receivers now. He's got good tight ends, good running backs. Hopefully the offensive linemen, the young offensive line, but they had some good young players last year, and hopefully the number 1 draft pick will work out.
Well, it seems like people are saying it's strange. They can't believe how athletic the guy is. So if he gets by the first block, they said he just terrorizes people in the second line of defense as far as blocking. So, I mean, we'll see. It's a long way to go. Will Isaiah win? Will they cut Wynn and try to use his money for something else? I think that's...
I don't know what they do with the money, though. How about the second-round draft pick? At the end, they got 6'3". They said people saying he's not as good as they think he is. And then the receiver goes right behind him that everybody loved.
Oh, Thornton. Well, they're talking about his wrist is 6 inches. I don't know. Has there ever been a good receiver who had small wrists? I don't know. If you run by people.
I know. Didn't Rice have small hands?
I don't know. Yeah. Didn't seem to bother him. Whatever. Sometimes we get too hung up on these individual stats. Now we have the picture that's etched in our mind of Mac Jones is him smoking the cigar with a big gut while he's at Alabama. And everybody says he looks like Vincent Brown now, the Undertaker. I don't know if he's able to remodel his body that much.
He's been working out?
I guess people have said he looks like a different guy. And he said, I think he cut back on ice cream. He's a big ice cream guy.
I think he's going to be really good, I'll tell you. I think this year is going to be a big year for him.
Well, I think I agree totally. They've got to be able to slow down the pass something, and it's worrisome with the cornerbacks they have. Butler's out of football for a year, and now he's the number 1 cornerback.
Well, they might play a lot of zones.
Yeah.
Is Jones coming back?
Jonathan Jones is back. And then I guess Mills is the other cornerback who wasn't terrible last year.
He was all right.
He wasn't great.
How about, what's his name, number 45? What's his name?
Not Bryant.
He made that big play against
Buffalo.
Allen in the wind and rain.
Miles Bryant.
He made that big play in the end zone, and then the rest of the season he got burned.
So we'll see. But I mean, and the other thing, of course, is their ability to stop the run. Guy obviously is their number 1 guy. Godshaw wasn't so great.
But it seemed like they were really strong early in the year, and then just this team started running on them.
Yeah.
For the linebackers.
So we'll see. I guess Bentley is their number 1.
They need him to be healthy the whole year. He gets hurt. Is Hightower back?
No, Hightower is a free agent right now. Maybe they're hoping they'd be able to bring him back on short money.
Oh, he must be going with those the Michigan linebacker they got.
Grown. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, and they put Phillips up as a linebacker a lot of times, so we'll see how that goes.
And Duggan too.
Yeah, Duggar. Yep.
Yeah.
So, and then I guess the other place where they may have some money they can free up is Jake Bailey. I think they have another punter. And
Really?
I mean, Bailey got 3 punts blocked last year, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't great. But usually when punts get blocked, it's not always the punter. It's the punt protection that broke down.
Well, I wonder how excited the Patriot fans really are. I mean, I'll be excited when it comes around.
Yeah, but it's tough when you don't. There's no hype. There's no film.
Well, I didn't like McDaniels anyway. I mean, people that love McDaniels, I never liked him. I don't like his play calling.
So the first play is incomplete pass, and it's 2nd and 10. 80% of the time, it's a run to try to get 5 yards. So then it's 3rd and 5. I mean, and that's kind of across the league stuff.
If you have someone like Brady, it's not. It's to pass again. But know what I hate, Ron? When you get 7 or 8 yards on first down and you run again. That's a perfect play action down.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that Bills fans should try to remember that they didn't win anything last year. They didn't even get to the Super Bowl because they couldn't stop Kansas City from going, 75 yards in 25 seconds.
Well, look at Tampa Bay, too, on that pass down the middle, getting burnt.
Right. So it's very easy for people to say, well, the Patriots won 6 Super Bowls and it wasn't anything. Well, a lot of these teams haven't won 1. So if it was nothing, it's a lot of nothing. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're going to talk about coaching. First, I think it's worthwhile to discuss that the MIAA has made some rule changes this year, and they'll be significant. I don't know if they'll be significantly better or significantly worse. First of all, the 30-second shot clock has now been modified to 35 seconds. So I see too many games that are already in the 30s, and if teams slow it down even more, then the scores will be that much lower. So I'm not really excited about that. I'm not really sure that it was necessary. And second of all, the format for determining the playoffs has changed. The margin of victory is being capped at 1 point now, so there's no advantage to winning by a bigger margin. It's only going to be margin of victory, meaning whether you won or lost, and strength of schedule. The max preps formula, which is a black box and nobody knows what it is, isn't being used because it's proprietary to max preps. And apparently some, quote, coaches, I'm not sure if they were coaches or parents, were complaining because of the margin of victory differential. They felt that kids weren't getting a chance to play because the coaches were leaving the starters in to try to run the score up. I don't know.
Yeah, but if you're worried about if that's the case, if you're not a real good team, how are you going to run the score up and you're hoping to make it? You know what I mean? The real good teams, they know that they're going to know they're in it anyway because of their record. They're not going to run the score up. Why would they?
Well, I mean, if you're a great team...
To get a better seed?
If you're a great team and the margin of victory is capped at 10, the great teams like Malden Catholic boys are winning by 50, so it doesn't really matter.
How do you go from 30 seconds to 35? That's insane. I mean, that hurts the game. It hurts the game even more.
I would rather see it go to 24.
I know.
So, I think the game is meant to be played fast. I can't imagine what it's like to be in the 40 or 41 states there are that have no shot clock. So you have games that are 15 to 12 and stuff like that. Like it used to be,
4 corners. But, just think about how crazy that is. Number one, the real good teams are never going to be, they're not going to use 15 seconds, the real good teams. They're going to run you the whole game. All right? So the teams that are weaker, I mean, are they doing that so they can get more time against the real good teams to maybe score? What they're doing is giving them more time to turn the ball over. That's what they're actually doing. So I don't understand it.
Well, it's true. I was thinking about this the other day, and there's a lot of ways to break down possessions, but I think the simplest way is everything that happens before the shot, there's the shot, and then there's everything that happens after the shot, the rebounding. And where does offense break down the most? It breaks down so that you don't even get a shot. People turn the ball over. They make bad decisions.
Well, all the great teams, I mean, you're not going to be a great team unless you're great defensively because that leads to the offense. I mean, I saw Woburn play against us, right? The first 8 minutes, first 8 minutes, it was like a 4-point game. I said, first time I saw Woburn, I said, they're not so good. Then they upped their defense. They started turning the ball over. Merrill started turning it over against their pressure, and Woburn would just go into transition, and then they would score off that. I mean, that's what you see in the great teams. If you've got to be great defensively, that leads to you being even that much better offensively.
Right. Well, if you're analyzing the analytics, the points per possession are highest off of turnovers. So live ball turnovers, what happens is you get transition, you get a 3-on-2, 2-on-1 breakaways, and then you have offensive possessions starting off rebounds, and then you have dead ball. The other team scores, or there's just a dead ball turnover, and they have the lowest. So when the defense is allowed to get set, most defenses are pretty good. Now, I followed Bishop Fenwick closely last year because a former player was on Bishop Fenwick, and the state champion in that division was St. Mary's. Now, what's the problem with trying to defend St. Mary's? They have 2 exceptional guards who can handle the ball, break down the defense off the dribble, so there's always 4-on-3, 3-on-2. So the key is to get people to be able to stay in front of the ball. Well, how are you going to do that if you can't do it just man-to-man? Then you're going to have to play combination defenses like triangle and 2. You play pack line where you have all the wings sag in and step in right away and take your chances on the penetrate and pass. and then maybe you can do things like run and jump, or which I used to call trap and go, where you double team the guard and then immediately leave and try to go to somebody else, so the other team is
you got to be
out of sorts. But high school kids can't do all this stuff.
You got to be able to react really quick. I'm seeing that helping my teams, my friends' AAU teams. I mean, you got to, and now I talk about that all the time with the kids. You got to be quick. You got to be, your decision making has got to be sharp. You got to know where your teammates. I talk about knowing the floor, and a lot of what I teach is you've got to know where everybody is on the floor. Within a split second, you've got to pick up the colors. You've got to know in advance when the ball's coming to you. I would start practice, and I'd say the ball would come to a girl on the left. Someone's wide open, cutting down low. I could see it. You've got to see that. The more you can see and understand the floor and know the floor, the better you're going to be. But seeing the games now, the basketball, people say, well, it's not like it used to be. It's way better than it used to be. Girls' basketball is way better. I mean, I'm seeing it.
Well, it used to be that the players individually couldn't break down another player and get separation for a shot or a drive. Now, all the good players can do that.
But another thing I would say to anybody, parent who's thinking about putting their kid in the AAU program, at a young age, say middle school age, I would ask them, what type of defense do you play? First question I would ask, what type of defense do you play? And once I heard, we play some zone, we play some man-to-man. Well, what's the percentage? Well, half and half. My daughter would not be playing in that program. If a coach is worried more about winning games than teaching, I don't think he should be playing any zone at all, in my feeling, especially at the younger ages. I watched my grandson's third grade team, right? He was on a travel team. They're playing zones, these teams. Third grade. And Jake's a point guard. He penetrates well. So they play a zone. You can't do that. You can't run any of your plays. So it basically ruins the game for both teams. The team that's playing the zone is not teaching how to rotate, how to trap, play your man straight up. They're teaching, okay, you play this zone, don't let him get in between you. And a team that's playing against the zone is not learning anything because now they're playing against the zone. And I'm talking about maybe from 8th grade down, that they should be all playing man-to-man. This should be a rule. I don't know why they don't. They should get rid of zones until you get into high school.
Well, the problem is, and to a degree we're all guilty, is that people want to win. They'll do anything to win. I remember playing in a tournament over in Malden before the season. So the other team, I don't remember what town it was, doesn't matter. They're playing zone, 2-3 zone, the whole game. So we're ahead by 8 with 3 minutes to go. So I just tell the kids, hold the ball out. So
I did that.
The other coach starts screaming at me, play basketball. I'm playing. Come out and cover somebody.
I did that against, you were coaching with me against Chelmsford. We were playing Chelmsford. We had Colleen Hanscom was our point guard. So we're up 6 points with like 2 minutes to go, and they're still in the zone. So I told, there's no shot clock. I said, Colleen, go over half court and just stand there with the ball and dribble it. Right? And they come out, once they come out of the zone, go with the fist, which is the pick and roll. So she stays out of it, and they're not doing it for like 30 seconds. It goes out, and then the coach gets aggravated, tells him to go out. We run the pick and roll, and I don't know it was Maeve. Oh. Maeve scored on the pick and roll, and I'm looking. But I remember coaches coming up to me after. They don't even know how to tell their kids how to set a pick. No. The new sports, you got to watch out for.
We had one group, we were playing Pentucket, which is always strong, and we didn't have Cecilia because she had another commitment. So we get behind, and I said, we'll just run the pick and roll until they can't. So we score 3 times in a row in pick and roll. So then they switch to zone to take it away. So we won it anyway, but it's just.
But zones are killing the sport, Ron. Yeah. Until you get into high school, then it's about winning.
Right. So I think
varsity high basketball.
I saw a coach who wrote that his team faced zone defense in high school on 32% of the possessions. So he said, you can't say we're not going to work on zone offense and have to play zones a third of the time. So, thinking back to high school, people played zone, and we just sort of said, we stood around, we passed you get the ball. As soon as you touch it, you look to pass it. So I just remember we scored in the 60s all the time against zones, and this was before shot clocks and before three-point shooting, because you can just move the ball so much more quickly.
If you have a good...
Yeah, like Hannah Brickley's team. People play zone against them. That was suicide.
Yeah.
So anyway, so this, to me, the most underappreciated combination of things in coaching are some combination of cutting and passing. When the Celtics are cutting and passing well, when Brown and Tatum are getting the ball on the move, they're almost impossible to stop.
But they don't have a point guard who can break down a defense. The only point guard they have that can break down a defense is Pritchard, and he's not playing because of his defense liabilities in regard to Udoka's philosophy. I mean, another coach's philosophy, he's the best on-the-ball defensive player they have. On the ball, covering someone, a point guard, that's why he should be covering. At times, he should be covering Curry.
Well, and the other thing is, don't beat yourself. How do you beat yourself? You turn the ball over, you take bad shots, you commit stupid fouls. These guys who foul three-point shots, what are you doing? I mean, you can never, and you don't get back and get scored on in transition. So when your opponent's getting easy baskets, against Miami, the Celtics got almost no easy baskets. They really.
That's why I'm looking at that first game against Golden State to see how they play Tatum and Brown. They got to all play their best. If they play their best, they'll win. If Smart plays his best, Horford, and if Williams is healthy, Graham Williams at times. I mean, they have enough players, but if Golden State's defense bothers them like Miami's did, they're going to have a tough time.
Yeah. Well, I think if you watch a generic high school game and look at the number of assists, the team that gets a lot of assists is going to get easy. They're getting assists because they're scoring, but they're scoring because they're getting easy baskets. And the team that turns the ball over a lot. I mean, I've seen games where teams are turning the ball over in the 30s. The rest of your offensive players are not going to be good enough on those remaining 35 possessions. All right, so if you've got 35 possessions to score, what are you going to do? You're going to score 50% of the time? Even if you do, you're only scoring in the 30s. So you just cannot turn the ball over.
And I'm seeing that so much. Working with the AAU teams, I'm just seeing it so much with our kids that, our 8th grade team is really talented, but against real good competition, it gets in their head. They stop cutting, and their decision making isn't as good.
I think in the Celtics losses, they were averaging 16 turnovers, and in the wins, 12. Okay, so that's 4 more possessions a game. That's probably you're going to score between 4 to 5 points on those possessions. And so many of these games are decided by 1 or 2 possessions. It's ginormous.
But Ron, here's the best way. There's only one Curry, all right?
Okay.
There's only one Curry. But you watch Curry. If Curry was on the Celtics, it'd be an entirely different team on offense. He'd be handling the ball. He'd be penetrating. He'd be dishing to the open guys because they're going to have to switch because no one can stay with Curry one-on-one.
Well, I've come around to your thinking as far as if the Celtics could have any one player as the point guard, I'd like it to be Lonzo Ball.
If they could get Ball, no one would beat them. Because then Tatum and Brown, off his penetration and his passing, it's funny you say that, because I've said the same thing to our players on our team, the AAU team. You've got to see the floor better. And I talk about great point guards, but the Lonzo Ball would be unbelievable on that team.
The saying that I've tried to teach kids, it's the scoreboard, not the scorebook. How are you impacting winning? Now, maybe your job is to score a lot of points, but most kids' job isn't to score a lot of points. 85% of players are complementary players to the star players, and your job is to help contain other people, set great screens, get rebounds, play good defense. It's not to get 15 points when you're really an 8-point player.
But it's funny. Like in one of the practices 2 weeks ago, right? We call it our A team, and I went up to the point guard, and I said she's a very good basketball player, but she doesn't see the floor well. And I went up to her and I says to her, did you see Ava when you penetrated that last time? She goes, no, I didn't. I says, well, you should have. If you want to be a great point guard in high school, there's no way she penetrated from right to left, and once she penetrated from right to left, she just lost what was over here. And this girl, Ava, who's our center, was really good, was cutting. She should have saw that, and she should have realized that eventually she's going to be in the lane. She's cutting to. She went to the lane, and she got off balance and threw up a shot, right? And Ava will cut wide open. And I'm trying to tell the point guards, you've got to see the floor.
Well, if I played and I could have a choice between 15 points and 2 assists or 12 points and 7 assists, I'd much rather be 12 and 7 because you're making 3 people happy. You're making yourself happy, you're making the scorer happy, and you're really making the coach happy.
I used to love passing. I used to love setting up my teammates.
But that's not the way people think now.
No,
It's all about scoring. We'll be right back.